I mean, good is characterized by order, calmness, tranquility, peace, whatever you want to call it, lack of conflict, cleanliness. Cleanliness is next to godliness. It's true, it is. And evil is characterized by their opposites: violence, hate, disorder, division, disorganization, and filth. So if you are all in on the things that produce the latter basket of outcomes, what you're really advocating for is evil. That's just true.
Hey everyone, I'm Damien. Welcome to Holy Spirit Power. And this is one of the most moving and powerful speeches I've ever heard in my entire life. I mean, since Tucker Carlson left Fox News, man, the gloves are off, so to speak, man. I mean, he's able to say what he wants to say there. This message right here, if you're a Christian man, if you're a Christian woman, it is absolutely imperative that you hear what he has to say. I mean, in Colossians 2, it tells us not to be taken captive by vain philosophies according to the traditions of men and not according to Christ. Well, is that what's happened to us as a society, as Christians? Or have we been taken captive with all these philosophies of the world, all these ideologies that they're pumping into our minds and our heads? They're telling us that the family is not what's important, right? Whenever we know that the family is important, they want you to not have children. They want you to live your life for your job, right? Or for whatever the case may be. They want you to, if not for your job, they want you to live frivolously. They want you to stay high and drunk all the time. They tell you that it's okay to not think about the things that are going on in the world around you. Well, I'm telling you right now that it is very important that you pay attention. You know, Peter says, be sober, be vigilant. Because your adversary, the devil, is like a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. He's creeping around and he's seeking to devour you. His methods are the same. They've been the same since the garden. They're the same today. And you need to pay close attention to what's going on around you, because if not, man, you will easily be taken captive by vain philosophies. It is what it is. So Tucker, tonight, this is a message to Christians. And I'm telling you right now, man, this is absolutely amazing. Without any further ado, let's get into it.
It's easy to let your own side slide when the other side is a literally unacceptable option. And that's particularly true if you're a Christian, because the hostility to faith, but to Christianity, traditional Christianity in particular, is really one of the animating forces on the other side. I mean, let's just kind of not lie about it. And I know that there are Christian leaders who pretend otherwise, but they're not telling the truth. Because the truth is, and they pretty much say it, they hate that worldview because it's a challenge to their claims of dominion. In other words, anyone who sincerely believes in God, an actual God, probably not going to hand unlimited power to any person, right? So religious faith is a natural check on their power. That's true always and everywhere, and Christianity specifically is that. So if you're a Christian conservative, holy smokes, you on a gut level feel threatened. And I feel it too. So I get it. So here's what you should ask for going forward in this coming cycle, which again begins this fall. The first thing you should ask for is candidates who talk about things that actually matter. One of the weirdest phenomenons as a man deep into middle age who was not raised in the digital realm, I was raised in the payphone realm, is the degree to which people live their lives out digitally. And that means their friendships occur online, sometimes their romantic lives occur online, and to a huge extent, their political lives occur online. They decide what's important by reading what other people on social media think is important. I can't imagine a worse way to determine what matters than finding out what's trending on Twitter or what's appearing in your Facebook feed. By the way, those media, by definition, are open to manipulation. Like, you can create the appearance of urgency or importance very easily with digital media. So if that rises and you continue to get leaders that you vote for, whose campaigns you fund, who can look directly into a camera and say the single most important thing in the world is, in a material sense, totally unrelated to your life or the life of any of the other 350 million people who live here, that's a huge problem.
See, he's absolutely right there, man. I mean, Mitch McConnell got on live TV the other day and told us that the most important thing in the entire world was the war in Ukraine. I'm sorry, man, but to me, the most important thing in the world is my family. It's my relationship with other Christians. The most important thing to me in the world is how much we're having to pay for gas, for food, the cost of everything around us, man. They're trying to take your mind off of what's truly important and put your mind way over there overseas somewhere with stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with your life. It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense at all.
I try to pay attention to the markers, the real markers of societal health. And those are the basics. The farther you get away from the basics, the more misled you are. The farther from the target you are. So what are the basics in your life? Well, if you're a parent, there's one basic. How are the children doing? You're as happy as your unhappiest child. Of course. How are your children doing? How are they doing physically, emotionally, spiritually? Are they thriving? Do they live in a country that promises them the ability to thrive going forward? Will you die knowing your descendants will be as happy and secure as you have been? Is there something that matters more than that? Is there a more important question than that? No, there's not. And anybody who says there is, again, is either so deluded that person should not have power, or that person's lying to you. Period. If you say, well, I think abortion is always bad, well, I think sometimes it's necessary, that's a debate I'm familiar with. But if you're telling me that abortion is a positive good, what are you saying? Well, you're arguing for child, obviously. Of course I understand that, and I have compassion for everyone involved. But when the Treasury Secretary stands up and says, you know what you can do to help the economy? Get an abortion. Well, that's like an Aztec principle, actually. There's not a society in history that didn't practice human. Not one, I checked. Even the Scandinavians, I'm ashamed to say. It wasn't just the Mesoamericans, it was everybody. So that's what that is. What's the point of child? Well, there's no policy goal entwined with that. No, that's a theological phenomenon. And that's kind of the point I'm making. None of this makes sense in conventional political terms.
He's exactly right. I mean, all of this is more like a religion than anything else. Everything that they're throwing at us, this all has religious overtones. To be honest with you, it has satanic overtones, right? When it comes down to the abortion thing, when it comes down to the trans thing. And look, I don't have anything against anyone, man. I believe everyone should be able to make their own decisions. But at the same time, when they're forcing this on you and they're forcing this on your children, right? What is the purpose of them forcing it on you? It has specifically religious overtones, and it has very much the zealousness of a religion or as a theological movement, right? So it's not about politics, like you were just saying. It has absolutely nothing to do with politics. Politics has nothing to do with them promoting you aborting your child. Politics has nothing to do with them promoting your child changing genders, right? Teaching them these ideologies in school. This stuff is it's a little far out there. You know what I mean? They've gone so far past the borders of sanity that it's amazing to me that no one even recognizes it. Everyone just kind of jumps on board. It's that herd mentality, and everyone wants to be accepted, and they know if they really speak the truth of how they really feel, then they will not be accepted, that they will be pushed out of the group, that the herd will turn on them because society or the popular opinion in America or the West in general, right, has gone so far into these ideologies that they're held captive by vain philosophies. They can't say what they really want to say. They can't express how they truly feel whenever a grown man is playing sports against a grown woman, right? They can't say, man, that's crazy. Why would you allow that? They can't say that because if they say that, they'll be called all kinds of names. It's, kicked off of here, kicked off of there. I mean, my YouTube channel is pretty much shut down right now. I've been shut down for like 3 weeks. I went from getting thousands of views to getting 1 or 2 views because of the last video I did on abortion. But I'm here. I'm still here. I'm still in the fight. I'm going to keep on posting until they completely kick me off of here. That's just the way that it is. But, I mean, I want you guys to recognize what's going on.
So all of a sudden you have a political party that is making a case against having children. Making a case for devoting your life to some soulless multinational corporation. I'm not against all businesses. I've always been for free enterprise. But when I hear people say, abortion's the most important thing, the most important right that we have, I ask myself, what are you really saying?
There it is.
I mean, honestly, think about it for a second. And I am a pro-lifer, just to be completely clear, a fervent one. But what are they really saying? So conservatives, I think very often begin with the debate over whether this is a life and whether abortion is ending a life. Well, that's not really a debate. Everybody knows that it is. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Even the people screaming, "I'm proud of my abortion." If you really felt good about it, you probably wouldn't be so brittle and loud, would you? "I'm proud of my abortion." Yeah, no, you're not. You're sad about it because it's inherently sad. So that's not really a debate, and we can debate what limits should be put on it, but we need to take 3 steps back and ask ourselves, what is this exactly? What are they really saying? What are they promising to the American population when they promote this? And what they're, of course, saying, and what Citibank and Nike, Dick's Sporting Goods, and all these huge companies that are affirmatively promoting abortion by paying their female employees to have abortions, we're suddenly admitting it's female employees, which is, take your victories as you get them. What are they really saying? They're really saying it is more important to serve us than to have a family. You will be happier as you rise within our company than you would be if you had your own children. Now, I never hear any Republican push back against this, but I can't imagine a more grotesque and obvious lie. Children are the most enduring source of joy. This is not an ideological point. It is true. Even when they go wrong, as they do. But it doesn't detract from the unchangeable fact that children are the main source of joy and meaning in the human life. Period. Period. So anyone who tells you, no, what you really want, Miss 28-year-old Citibank employee, is to move up to assistant vice president in charge of international bonds. Really? Really? Is someone from the HR department gonna hold my hand in hospice 40 years from now? Is the company gonna love me unconditionally? No. It's a lie. It's a lie.
He's absolutely right again. I mean, they want you to push aside having children, having a family. But who do you then grow old with? Who do you grow old with? When you're growing old, when you look back at your life and you say, man, look at what I accomplished, what do you look at? To me, it's amazing that they can push this narrative because children, they want to hear this stuff. Young people, young adults, they want to hear that it's okay to just do whatever you want to do. We've been so demoralized and desensitized to the true evils of the things that are being pushed at us that we actually believe as a culture. I say we, I'm not involved in that we. I don't feel that way. But we've been demoralized and desensitized to the point where as a nation, as a culture, that everything that's evil is being called good and everything good is being called evil. They put that on the head, and make no mistake, it has absolutely nothing to do with them truly believing in the causes that they're pushing. It has everything to do with the destruction of Western society. It's Marxism, okay? That's what Marx does. He separates through intersectionality. He separates everyone into their own little groups, and then he pits those groups against one another. And what they've done is they've taken all these groups that have been pitted against one another, and they put them all together, made into one, going against the societal norms of Western civilization. And Western civilization brought us all of the great progression that we've had over the centuries. No one else has. All the technology you have is a direct result of Western civilization. Everything that you have is a direct result of Western civilization. The rights you have, everything that you have is a direct result of the nuclear family and values being instilled in the children from birth. They don't want values instilled in the children. They want the children to be completely valueless in more ways than one. I don't just mean without value in their moral lives. I also mean they want them to have absolutely no feeling of value for themselves nor for the lives of anyone else, right? They want them to believe that life is expendable. You just came from an ape or a fish, and since your ancestors are fish, then there's absolutely no use in human life. There's no overarching meaning to your life. Therefore, if it's a life, you can kill it. It doesn't matter. It's just another piece of protoplasm floating around in a system that doesn't care about it. Don't fall victim to vain philosophies after the traditions of men and not according to Christ. Pay attention to what they're actually saying.
Telling that lie, they are stripping young Americans of the promise of the only thing that matters, which is having a family. What you're watching is not a political movement, it's evil. And just say, if you want to know what's evil and what's good, what are the characteristics of those? And by the way, I think the Athenians would have agreed with this. This is not necessarily just a Christian notion. This is kind of I would say, widely agreed upon understanding of good and evil. What are its products? What do these two conditions produce? Well, good is characterized by order, calmness, tranquility, peace, whatever you want to call it, lack of conflict, cleanliness. Cleanliness is next to godliness. It's true, it is. And evil is characterized by their opposites: violence, hate, disorder, division, disorganization, and filth. So if you are all in on the things that produce the latter basket of outcomes, what you're really advocating for is evil. That's just true. I'm not calling for religious, far from it. I'm merely calling for an acknowledgement of what we're watching. Maybe we should all take just like 10 minutes a day to say a prayer about it. I'm serious. Like, why not? And I'm saying that to you, not as some kind of evangelist. I'm literally saying that to you as an Episcopalian. The Samaritans of our time. They're promoting the idea that your family is worthless compared to loyalty to your employer and a political party. That is the sickest message I can possibly imagine. It's a totalitarian message, by the way. If the boss said, disown your own spouse, hurt your own children, you'd be out of there. There's no job, from president to road builder, that is worth hurting your own family.
I just want to say that it's absolutely good versus evil, man. He's right when he says that good is characterized by order, by tranquility, by peace, by beauty. Those are the things that we can hold on to, man, in life, that we know these things are good. So when you see people out there burning down cities, there's no order in that. That's complete disorder. That's a destruction, again, of the society, of the civilization. They want it torn down. They want us to go back to primitive times. They want us to be at each other's throats 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's a plan. You think that they don't know what they're doing? You think they don't understand what they're doing when they're doing that? And you've lost your mind if you don't think they do. These people are used what's called psychological manipulation and emotional manipulation, right? Have you ever seen a movie that made you laugh? Of course you have. Have you ever seen a movie that made you cry? Of course you have. That's because they use emotional manipulation. They have psychologists and psychiatrists that are very good and know exactly what they're doing, how to place things in there to make you react and respond emotionally and without any use of your intelligence. You've got to be careful, man, because when they're out there pushing these narratives, you need to look into those narratives. You need to do some research and see if what they're telling you is true, because for the most part, they are absolutely lying to you. They don't want you to think it through. They want you to adopt their message, right? They want you to use their little catchphrases. Pro-choice. They make it sound so good, like it's such a great thing to be pro-choice. Well, what about the choice of the child? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see what I mean? So they don't fill you in on the truth. They just give you these little catchphrases and they repeat them over and over again so that you'll remember. They believe that you're absolutely stupid. They think you don't have any sense at all, and that as long as you attach to their narrative, to their catchphrases, and you will spout them without any forethought. And if you watch any videos, if you watch anyone who tries to debate these people, you'll see that it's absolutely true. Whenever they're caught ideologically, whenever they cannot back up their ideas and the things that they believe with anything rational, they just start screaming at you. They won't listen. They just start screaming at you. What do they start screaming? The catchphrases. Pay attention. Pay attention, man.
That's a universal sentiment. They believe that in Burkina Faso. They believe that here in Des Moines. That's just how people are. Their family is the most important thing. So whenever someone tells you, no, your family's not the most important thing, don't have one, you know there's a problem. And I'm hardly a Bible scholar, but of course, how do you judge a tree? By its fruits, right? You don't judge it by, what the arborist told you it was. You wait till it produces something and then you know what it is. Oh, those are pears. They told me it was an apple tree. Well, I guess they guessed wrong. So the way that I judge ideas is by their fruit. And not just their ideological fruit, their physical, tangible, observable fruit, the things they make. So everything that we see around us is the product of ideas, of ideologies. That's where everything starts. In the beginning, there was the Word. It starts with a word, always. And here's how we know if the ideology is a good one. Noble ideologies produce beautiful results. They produce beauty. Poisonous ideologies produce ugliness. Now, why is beauty so important, and why did tyrants always destroy it? Well, they destroy it because beauty reminds you that the most important things are eternal. They're unchanging. Beauty is recognizable across cultures, across centuries. You can go to a place, a culture you're completely unfamiliar with, and if you see something beautiful, you recognize it immediately. Why? Because beauty has balance and symmetry and grace. You know it instantly. It's derived from God's creation. So the closer we are to God's creation, the straighter the path and the better the path. But they're able to think of these schemes that in fact destroy the environment. And by the environment, I mean the land, because they don't care about beauty. What's beautiful? Is a wind turbine beautiful? No, actually, rivers are beautiful. Gardenias are beautiful. Springer Spaniel faces are beautiful. Children are beautiful. The sky is beautiful. These are not things that people made. These are things that God made. But the most basic desire of most people, not every single person, but of most people, the overwhelming majority of people, is to mate and have children and to perpetuate the species. That's not a desire that you were taught in college. People who've lived in total isolation come to that conclusion because it's not a conclusion. It's an instinct. If you're giving minor children that sterilize them, not a complicated issue. Sterilizing children, I can say I'm against that. I mean, just call me crazy. I want to go out there and say this thing publicly. I want to kind of come out of the closet as opposed to sterilizing children. Some say it's controversial. The number of governors I've talked to are like, well, it's a very complicated. Really, in what sense is it complicated? So under what circumstances are we for sterilizing children?
It's not very complicated, man. And he said something earlier. He said, why don't we just take like 10 minutes a day just to pray about it? We need to be in prayer about these things, man. They are literally sterilizing children. They'll say, oh, it's reversible. It is not reversible. For the most part, they don't even know what these drugs are going to do. But when you take a 10, 11, 12-year-old child, even younger than that, and you start giving them puberty blockers, you completely destroy any idea of having a normal life. It's gone. So if what they're going through is a phase, I'm not saying that there's not children who have dysphoria. I'm not saying that some of them don't want to remain that way. That's not what I'm saying. But to think that a child at that age can make a decision that will affect and impact the rest of their entire lives at that age, you're absolutely crazy. We don't let them drink. Why? Because it impacts their life, right? We don't let them smoke cigarettes. Why? Because that will impact their life. We don't let them do drugs. Why? Because that will impact their life. So now they want to force sexuality into children, have them thinking about sex when they're really little. I mean, why would you want a child to think about sex, man? What is wrong with you that you think it's okay to make a child think about sex? Again, it's the demoralization of the nation. It is the tearing down of Western civilization. They want us to be demoralized and have our minds on things way down there in the gutter and not be looking up at all. Not be thinking of things that are beautiful, righteous, and good, but to be thinking of things that are evil. If you don't like someone, attack them. It doesn't matter if their argument is correct. See, if I'm wrong on a subject, you can tell me. You can tell me in the comments when I'm wrong on something, and I'm going to read what you say, or I'm going to listen to what you say, and I'm going to try to apply that, and I'm going to say, hold on, does what he or she is saying have any validity or not? They will not accept that. They don't want what you're saying to have validity. When you say you're sterilizing children and you shouldn't be doing this, they just point at you and call you names. They call you transphobic. No, I'm not transphobic. I'm against you destroying the lives of children. There's a major difference, man. A major difference.
But when it comes down to it, if people who've lived in this country their entire lives, sort of followed all the rules, mostly, paid a lot to the government, hoisted the flag, sent their children into military service for generations, if those people are getting shafted and you're not putting everything on the line to protect them and their children and their grandchildren and generations yet unborn, you just don't deserve the vote of anyone. I mean that. So I will stop there. And I will say to you, I hope that you will hold them accountable in a real way and never be embarrassed to ask about issues that matter to you. There's no national council that determines what's supposed to matter to America. Twitter isn't real, okay? It's the domain of super unhappy people with empty personal lives and creepy political agendas. What matters to you is what matters to you. And you have every right, in fact, you have a constitutional duty to tell your representative to represent you on those issues.
Man, so if you could tell me that that's not one of the most powerful things you've ever heard in your life, and I'll try not to put too much commentary in there, man, there's a lot I wanted to say, but the fact of the matter is we have got to begin to recognize what is going on in the world around us. If we don't recognize what's going on in the world around us, we're going to be completely lost as a society, as a civilization. We're going to lose the children or our future, and they're teaching our children not to even make more children, not to even have families. See, the beginnings of our civilization is dependent upon the nuclear family, the family structure, a love relationship among the family that holds things together in a moral sense that produces beauty, like Tucker was just saying. So when we're dealing with stuff that does not produce beauty, we've got a serious problem there. There's a serious problem. Whenever every one of their ideologies produces something ugly and sick and twisted, then it's very important that we pay attention and that we take notice of these things, because if we do not, your children will not have the life that they could have had. Your children will not have a society to grow up in like the one that you grew up in. Your children will not have the ability to think for themselves, because they're being taught not to think for themselves. They're being taught that what these people say is true, and they're being taught all these catchphrases that mean absolutely nothing. I love you guys. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button for me, man, if you haven't already. Let's grow this channel, man. Let's get this message out, because the more that we sit in silence is just like lying, man. Whenever you lie by omission because you're not telling people, it says in the Bible that although they know the truth, that they held the truth in unrighteousness, they withhold the truth in unrighteousness. Whenever you hold the truth in unrighteousness and you won't tell people the truth, it's just as bad as lying. All right. So help me out, man. Hit the share button, man. And by all means, go check out the rest of my videos, man. Please, if you would, go check it out. If you got something out of this one, you'll get something out of them. Until next time, brother, I'll see you right here on Holy Spirit Power.